Are you familiar with Andrew Tate?
I am somewhat. I know who he is.
Okay, he tweeted at you, or not at you, he tweeted about you after your Joe Budden interview.
Yes.
He said, I don't care if you agree with him or not, Dr. Umar is ride or die for his people, and I respect that.
Absolutely. Race first.
Race first. Now, this is my thing with Andrew Tate. I love the brother. As a matter of fact, he's probably been one of the most positive inspirations in my life personally. From where I came from, he speaks about masculinity, about always wanting to better yourself, about surrounding yourself with brothers who have like minds so you can go and conquer the world. This is my concern. Not even my concern. This is my thoughts. He has a black father and a white mother, but he doesn't tailor his message to black boys when we need it the most. He was born in Washington, D.C. He was raised in Chicago. He left Chicago at the age of 7. And then he moved to Luton, England, when it's a council estate. This is more like a hood out in London. So I understand why he doesn't, because he wasn't raised around, at least I would assume, black people. But as probably one of the most influential men in the world, do you think he has a responsibility, or he should try to speak and tailor his message to black boys, especially from Chicago, where he was from?
When we have this conversation about the politics and psychology of mixed race Africans, it gets pretty deep, because mixed race Africans, who I consider to be 100% my blood, kith and kin, as long as they identify with African, but they exist on a continuum. You have mixed race Africans who completely identify as Caucasians. You have mixed race Africans who completely identify as African. And you have mixed race Africans who would rather be referred to as the race in between. You know, I'm mixed.
That's what he said.
I'm biracial. And this is because I don't know Brother Andrew, and all due respect to him. In my experience, when mixed race Africans make it a point to make sure people are clear that I identify as biracial, that normally means that their allegiance to the black community is not what most of us would require it to be for us to feel comfortable with that person. So when you ask me, and I don't know if this is correct, because again, I'm a psychologist, not a psychic. I can't read the brother's mind. But if what you say is true, and his messages are not being pointed enough to what we need to do as a people, I would probably argue that his mixed race parentage has something to do with why he doesn't feel too comfortable putting both feet in the African community. You see that?
Yeah.
It could also be a business decision where he doesn't want to curtail, or alienate some of his audience. But in my experience, whenever I'm communicating or doing work with mixed race Africans, like I said, I accept them on the same par with the rest of us as long as they identify as black or African first, with no need to deny their white mother or dad, but you an African. That's the way the world sees you. Genetically, that's what you are. Ancestrally, that's what you are. You need to identify with that. And when I find that they can't, there's normally some degree of internalized racism operating within their thinking.
I would love to see a Dr. Umar Andrew Tate interview.
It's coming.
That would be powerful.
It's coming.
Now, I might just know some people who know some people who know some people who could set that up.
It's coming.
But
And shout out to Andrew Tate for giving me the shout out too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, one thing about Andrew Tate, and another reason why I'm a fan of his, is because of his message. And his message is pretty much this: the people in power, the power structures, every crisis is an opportunity for them. During 9/11, they passed the Patriot Act, where they did mass surveillance on everybody. Then you have 2020, or the COVID epidemic, where they pretty much required everyone to get COVID passports to travel on the planes. And then they wanted people to stay in them houses. He speaks up against these issues, and his thought process is that at some point, especially with the advent of artificial intelligence, that will be used, because it's just a program. You program it to do whatever it is you need it to do. As you can see in New York, they already have some artificial police dogs. I don't know if you've seen those robot police dogs.
I saw some in the airport.
What makes you think that that won't be used to control the masses?
Oh, it will.
100%.
They'll sick them robot dogs on you the same way they sick the dogs on our brothers and sisters down in Birmingham, in Montgomery. Yes.
Exactly. So he speaks up against all these issues. And he says there's a coming enslavement of mankind.
Okay.
Because the more and more power they get, the more control they're
I
going
would
to
say
have.
it's already here.
100%.
I believe that we're already enslaved. It's just not to the point where it's obvious to the politically uneducated. So I think what Brother Andrew was speaking to is sooner or later it's going to be so obvious to somebody with a third grade education that I'm a slave and there's nothing I can do about it.
Because at that point it's going to be too late.
Absolutely. And to your point on the psychology of terrorism, the research even shows that the more people become afraid, the more willing they are to abdicate their rights to the power structure in exchange for security. What is the first law of existence? Self-preservation. So if I come to you and say, listen, bro, they're about to kick your door in and snatch your daughter and rob you, right? And you say, well, what can I give you to stop this? I'm going to need your whole bank account, your house, your freedom, your cell phone. I need all your passcodes. You feel me? The first law of existence is self-preservation. And guess what you will do? You will give it up. Because at the end of the day, what good are these things if I'm not even alive to enjoy them? So America knows, the entire global white power structure knows that when people are afraid, they will let you get away with murder. If there was no 9/11, the world wouldn't have sat by and let America go in there and do what they did in Afghanistan. So they had to imbibe the world with fear. And anybody who didn't agree with them, they simply said, what? You either with us or you against us. So the small little countries say, even though we don't think this is how this really happened, we got to ride with America because George Bush said they're just going to beat us up and bully us if we don't. The world is not run on law. The world is run on power. And if it's one thing black people need to understand more than anything else, it is the politics and the rules of power. Because we keep on trying to change things with laws, with prayer, with protests, with marches. You need power. Let 1 million black people show up to city council in Washington, D.C. and say we want to end to this or begin into this. They will respond. What are we getting ready for now? A presidential election between Trump and Biden, two white supremacists, neither of which care about black people, neither of which have done anything for black people. But guess what? We're still aligned. Democrat, aligned, Republican. Let's unalign ourselves. Vote as a block. For the first time in American history, every African American is pledging his vote to his people. So we're going to sit down with Trump. We're going to sit down with Biden. We're going to give them a list of demands. How many can you meet? And we're telling you now, if you fail us, you automatically know there won't be a Democratic president the next election. You see that? Mm-hmm. And they will have to respond to you because you got your numbers. People say, why do politicians ignore black people? You're not organized to hold them accountable. Get your numbers together and you'll make the world respect you. Organization is in the group. Power is in the group. You see that? Mm-hmm. Victory is a team sport.